All right, so now we're ready to start looking at task number 2. Let's take a look to see what we're working with, see what we have as, a thing that we need to accomplish, and then let's try plugging in a couple of these formulas and functions to try to figure out what we can do with it. So, what we have here is, if I zoom in just a little bit so we can get a better view, looks like we have a list of students, okay? And then we have assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3. Okay, I'm thinking this is like a teacher's grade book. So it looks like they're managing to keep grades. They have an R in their grades. That's a little weird. And they have the letter X in their grade. And oh, look at that. The teacher even needs to grade a few of these assignments. So looking at this, we need to figure out exactly, first, like what's happening here? What are we looking at? So I'm looking here, a bunch of numbers. I would assume those are the grades the student has received for each of the assignments. And then the R and the X have to stand for something. If I look over here on the right, we have the key and the meaning. So an X represents the assignment is excused. Okay? If it's blank, it means that it needs to be graded. If it's an R, okay, that's redo. That makes a lot of sense. And then if it's a number, that just represents the grade that the student received on that. Okay, let's figure out exactly what this task wants us to accomplish, and let's figure out a few of these as well. So, when I'm looking at this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, but first let's read this box. Your teacher is running a spreadsheet gradebook and needs help gathering summary data at the bottom of the grade sheet. For each of the categories, use your knowledge of math functions to help your teacher have insights on his or her classroom performance. Okay, so maybe we want to track, to see how students are doing with things. All right. Each formula should give the total amount of students that fit each category. Okay, let's take a look and see what's going on down here at the bottom. Let's enhance our zoom. There we go. We got the whole gradebook up on the screen now. I'm going to scroll down here. This looks like it's the information that we need to type in, this lighter orange section of boxes. That's a lot. I don't want to type in all of these, so we're going to use some shortcuts and tricks to make our lives a little bit easier. So let's look at this first one. Given a grade. All right, so 12 of these students for assignment 1 were given a grade. That means that they're just numeric, right? They have numbers attached. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that makes sense with the 12. How do they just count the numeric items? Well, if we refer back to one of the things that we learned, we can do something called the count. So I'm going to click onto that cell to see what the equation is. And it is count B2 colon B21. So just like before, we can actually see the orange outline on this box. Okay, so it starts from B2 and it goes all the way down to B21. All right, so that counts the number of numeric items. All right, let's look at these other items that are on here. Passed, failed. Okay, we can address those in a minute. Graded, excused, or redo. Well, that's pretty much if something's filled in. I know how to do that one. That one's one of the easier ones that we learned. So let's get this one done, all right? We're going to click on that. And graded, excused, or redo, it basically is anything that isn't a blank. So what we do with this is equals count A, parentheses, and then remember we have to choose the range that we are counting through. So I'm going to go back up to here, click here, and drag all the way down. And if I bring it down a little bit more, it will scroll for me. Might do a little bit too much, but that's okay. We're going to adjust it. So it counts all the items from B2 through B21. I'm going to close those parentheses and press enter. And we got 17 items. Well, let's test that. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's blank. 5, 6, that's blank. 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so that counted all of them. Awesome. So that was an easy one that we could fix. Okay. Let's look at the next ones. How about the ones that are excused? All right. Excused means that it has to have the letter X as this key over here is telling us, right? X is excused. So we just need to count the letter X. So if we can do that, remember we have a formula where we can count a specific thing inside of a range of cells. So I'm going to double click in, equals, count if. Remember, we can count with a specific rule. We put in our parentheses, and we're going to draw or drag this range. Remember, we want to identify all of these. And then I close the parentheses and press enter. Let's look at that. Okay? So, remember we forgot to type something in, right? If we count if, we have to put in at the end, comma, and what is the thing that we want to require? I'm going to put in that lowercase x. Now when I press enter, there we go, 2 of them. Let's take a look. None, there's 1. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. There's 2, and that's the end of our data. So, okay, that works. I think you could figure out the same thing on redo, because that's a very similar idea to it. Okay, and then let's also look at the pass and fail ones, because those are maybe a little tricky for us. But remember, on the excused, we did a count if, right? Because we can set a rule and say, look for that rule, and tell me how many cells follow that rule. So let's look at the pass. Let me exit out of that, because I didn't want to type in those things. Sometimes it's a little tricky when you're clicking around and things get added. You can always just press escape to get out of it. So we have passed, right? I want to find all the students who have passed. So double click in, equals, count if, parentheses. I got to choose the range. So we're going to go up here, click all the way down, and let go on there. Now remember, we made that mistake last time of closing our parentheses. We don't want to do that this time. Remember, we have to put in that rule for the if statement, comma. And inside of quotes, I have to put in the rule greater than equal to 65, and the quotes and the parentheses. And when I press enter, it's going to tell me that 9 students passed on this assignment. So let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they didn't pass. 6, they didn't pass. 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9 students passed total. So that works out. Cool. Now, you might be thinking, do I have to write out these equations for every single box on here? Nope. We are going to be lazy, and we are going to take a programmer-like shortcut. We're going to say, hey, look, I worked this piece out, right? Let's do on the past one. I worked this out. Now, this equation covers columns B2 through B21. Oh, look, we're in column B. All right. Now, if I wanted to extend it to this next column, the only thing that would be different would be that it's the C, and then D, and then E, and then F. So if you have a very clearly defined pattern, you have like, hey, I want to repeat this idea of all the past checking, I can click on that little tiny blue rectangle, and I can drag it all the way to the end, and I can let go of it. And what it did is it continued that passing check on each of those. So if I double click into here, this one is C2 through C21, same rule, okay? This one is D2 through D21. This one is E2 through E21. This is covering the F, G, H, and I columns. So instead of us having to go into each of these boxes one by one and type in a formula and maybe make some mistakes, we can harness the magic of these spreadsheets and click that little tiny blue box and drag it all the way to the right. And if I let go, boom, all of it was taken care of for me. I could do it for this one as well. Boom, all of it was taken care of for me. I can do it for this one as well. Boom, all of that was taken care of for me. Look how easy this formula and these boxes are starting to fill in. I just had to solve the equation once, and then I can just extend it across the entire board on here. All right, so that's what task 2 is having you figure out, how to count or find these things. Now remember, This is not something you're not supposed to be a professional at. This is a little bit of a struggle. We're going to have some difficulties. Sometimes things aren't going to work. Sometimes we're going to goof up. When that happens, take a deep breath, take a couple minute break, and revisit the idea a little bit later. Remember, nothing that is easy will open up opportunities for us, because if everyone can do it, that means not everyone has this unique skill. So you want to take your time with this. You definitely want to get good at it, and you want to make sure that you understand how this works, because again, there's a lot of different opportunities in your life that can be enhanced through using spreadsheets. Don't be discouraged, be persistent, work hard, try hard, and take breaks when you need. This is not something that you miraculously figure out overnight. This is something that through hours of practice, by little increments, time by time again, you get better and better and better.